Okay, dude. Let's just John Wick, dude.
It's probably the best action movie franchise going right now.
By far.
Like, well, there's nothing even close.
That's what I'm saying. If you're talking about like the actual genre of action, like, you know, because there's Avengers movies, but that's like they're kind of mixing genres. It's kind of like your action, but there's some comedy, and then there's some really kind of dramatic things. And John Wick, even though there's dramatic parts,
this is straight up action.
This is straight up action.
Shoot 'em up,
oh
Joe.
My god! And what's crazy is when the first one came out, I
remember watching the preview and I was like, well, I mean, it looks like a good like revenge deal. And then I remember looking on like Rotten Tomatoes and it was like 87% or something.
Yeah,
like that.
and I was like, this movie?
Yeah.
And all I kept saying was like, it's
got William Dafoe and
well, obviously
it's
Keanu, but I was like, it just doesn't. I don't see why it's getting such a good review, and especially when I was reading reviews and they were saying, it's all because his dog is killed. Well, hold on, the plot of John Wick is an ex-hitman comes out of retirement to track down the gangsters that killed his dog and took everything from him. And when I say that is literally all that you need to know, that's all you need to know.
No, it is.
It is such a simple story. I mean, his wife has died, his wife gives him a dog. Gangsters see his car. They want his car. He says, you can't have this car.
Well, it's not for sale.
It's not for sale.
And
they come and
steal his car and kill the new puppy that his dead wife had just given him.
And it's the most adorable puppy.
Yeah.
It's this beagle puppy.
And they don't... From there, he takes out the Russian mafia.
Literally.
All of them.
They're like... It is in all of these movies, the body count in these movies are... It's incredible.
Well, let's just stick to the first one. The reveal of how badass John Wick is in this.
Oh my god.
Is one of the movies. There's times where I look up that YouTube clip and just watch that like 5 minute clip where the head Russian mafia
Michael Nyquist. Yeah, he's
the
passed
late
away now. Yeah, he's a great actor. Yeah, he was in the original Girl with the Dragon Tattoos,
and he's good in this.
He was great.
And Theon Greyjoy is playing the son.
And it's him, the son, figuring out like, oh, I did fuck up, because he has that like bravado, like, no, I'm above the law, I'm above everyone because I'm the heir to this mafia.
Yeah.
And John's like, and the father basically is like, you're gonna die.
Yeah, he goes,
he's like, I'll try what I can, but you are going to die.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The speech that he gives, the whole Baba Yaga.
He's like, he's not the boogeyman.
He goes, he's the boogeyman, and the son kind of smiles. He goes, no, you don't understand. John's not quite the boogeyman. He's who you call to kill the boogeyman. And he's like,
and this is what these movies.
And John Leguizamo, he's got his small little
part,
and he's great. Where'd you get that car?
Because Johnny Legs knows, like, you don't do that to John Wick.
And that's the best part of this movie is everybody knows who John Wick is except for you and the son.
Yeah.
And the introduction of who John Wick is.
When Johnny, and that part makes me laugh out loud every time I see this, because I've seen this movie 5 times at least. And every single time where Michael Nyquist calls Johnny Legs and says, I heard you struck my son. And he goes, well, he stole John Wick's car and killed his dog. And the father goes, oh. And hangs up the phone, which is like, oh, I understand why you struck my son. Because we're all done for.
Yeah.
And so that, and it's all this, like, for the first...
You will do nothing because you can do
nothing. So for the first 20 minutes of this movie, it's all setting up.
Yeah.
And it's setting up, and
then he sends the first team to John's house.
And yes, the mob boss decides...
He goes, how many you want to send? He goes, how many you got?
Well, on top of that, he tries to call John and make amends, because he's like, let's not have any bloodshed.
Yeah.
And that, I I remember the first time I saw this scene where the group of guys come in and they are attacking. They're trying to kill John, and it was how everything was so choreographed so well.
Long takes.
And yes, because it was a great departure from it. Basically, like these Bourne movies.
That became over the past like 15 years.
Well, when you look at the first Bourne was revolutionary because it had those really quick cuts and it was so kind of chaotic and
but you could hardly tell what was going on.
But it was when you first saw it, it was effective.
Yeah.
But a lot of movies have adopted that philosophy and they went away from kind of like longer takes, these long sequences where it's really showcasing stunt choreography, which is what all of these movies are. They're astonishing.
Yeah.
When you watch these, and
I remember the first time you see this movie, and we just rewatched the first one, and you watch it and you go, it was like you watch the first scene where they send that team in. And you first of all, you watch it, you're holy shit, he's a badass.
Because
and then after that, you sit there and it just felt like a breath of fresh air. You're like, I haven't seen action like this.
I know. Because it is so intense. Because it feels like you're watching two people beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah. Well, and this first scene, it's not even two people beat the shit out of each other.
No, it's John Wick beating the shit out of everyone.
Yeah.
But they mix martial arts and like gunplay really well.
Very well.
So well. Like it's something that I haven't seen in an American film, really. And that first scene really just sets the tone of like, oh no, this is what this action movie is going to be.
Yeah.
Because I remember even though in hindsight the Baba Yaga speech was awesome, the first time I saw it I was like, this is kind of like over the top and cheesy.
And then you watch him do it.
And then you're like, oh, okay, like I understand what this movie is now.
Yeah.
And the rest of the movie, the rest of the movie is great because there's tons of these action scenes peppered throughout. Not even peppered. I mean, it's tons of them.
You know what's funny is, like, as these movies come out, like, I have my favorite action sequences throughout, like, movie history. And you know, if I was to list my top, when this movie came out, the first one.
Yeah.
If I was to list my top 10, there might be 2 or 3 moments from this movie alone that would have made my top 10. And then
for me,
then now my top 10 is like
all
the collection of John Wick.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
They're all great, dude. And I don't know, they keep bettering it, and I don't know how they do. Like, it's just insane.
But this first one really.
So, what would you say is your favorite action sequence in this one? I know
as much as I love that first house scene, because you're also introduced in that house scene. You're introduced to 2 other things. That this is a whole world.
Oh, and that's
something. The cop walks up and goes, "John, you working again?"
And he's like,
and then you see that, and then you see him call
the cleanup service.
The cleanup service.
And there's these tokens.
Dinner for what is it?
Dinner for 12. Yeah. And they like pay in tokens, and then because of this, he then goes to the Continental Hotel, which is owned by Ian McShane.
It's a hotel of assassins.
Of assassins, and the assassins, they can't kill on company ground. Like there's these rules, and there's this whole underground world.
And this movie does a really good job of introducing it to you, but only giving you a taste.
Yeah. So there's still so questions, but you're like
so many questions, but they give you enough that it keeps you invested.
Because you're like. You want them to dive more into it, but you're also enjoying this action so much that you're like, you know, like when they start introducing more and more things into this world, that you are like fascinated.
But as much as I love that scene, I mean, the best scene in this is where he's hunting the sun in
Red Circle.
In the Red Circle,
dude. That was the scene. I remember watching this for the first time, and I don't know if I was alone. I forgot who I was watching it with. I remember thinking to myself, like, this movie's fucking awesome. It is so good. Because he's like, first it starts out, and he's like silently killing people, trying to just get to the sun so he can kill them.
Well, no, it starts out before he goes to the club. The bouncer outside, he's got the gun up to his head, and he says, why don't you take tonight off?
The one guy, he's like, you know, I'll let this guy get away.
Yeah.
The rest of the people...
He's like, how's your family going? And it was like, I'm not going to kill this guy. But everybody else? Nope.
There's no chance. There's no hesitation. And he's just a killing machine. But when at first it starts out like in this basement, and there's like this locker room and a hot tub, and there's that kind of shit. But then it goes upstairs to the club. The club.
Yeah.
And there's all these people around, and it's John fighting his way through people. That scene has probably the biggest kill count. Because he is just, people are just dying left and right.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my God. And it's so funny when you think about the only thing that he is really fighting for is that they killed his dog.
No, he explained. I mean, yes, but it's what the dog symbolizes.
I know what it symbolizes, but when you it's just such a simple story.
Yeah.
But the reason it's believable is that if you have a dog that you love,
we have not only that.
We have Bailey dog.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not just that. It's not just the dog. That was the point of the speech that he gives. He goes, "It's not just the dog. You took away my opportunity
for a second chance."
No, it was to grieve unalone.
Okay.
That was the exact quote.
That's true. That is true.
Like, you took that away from me.
But it's,
and he's
my
like,
point
and people
is,
keep asking me, am I back?
And
yeah.
You know what?
Oh, God. Yeah. And he goes,
well, see,
I haven't known what to say, but yeah, I'm back.
It's
and
such
you sit there and you're going, I don't know how the fuck he's going to get out of this, but you're about to die.
But
like,
that's where Willem Dafoe comes in.
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe helps him out.
Mm-hmm.
And they play, because Keanu acts the way he does, it's very, like his speech pattern is very like measured cadences.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like a believable way of talking.
No, but like I also like the fact
but you buy it.
But you buy it because that's also, I mean, they do a good job of explaining a lot in this movie. They talk about John Wick he's a man of
sheer will, like determination.
Everything's really calculated.
Yes.
He's very, I mean, if you read up on the history of it, and something that was cut out from this movie, he, in his free time,
that's right.
Once he got out of the game, he was...
these were like deleted scenes that, I don't know if they filmed or they had written.
He bound books.
Yeah, he had like a hobby that he liked doing. Instead of killing and massacring people, he would just... like bound books or like I don't know what.
And that's something we haven't really touched on. Is a big part. I mean, not only did his wife die, is he's this ex-assassin. Apparently you don't.
Once you become an assassin, you don't get out of the game.
And he achieves an impossible task
by getting out of the game.
Well, no, the impossible task is what he did for the Russians.
No, by doing that, he gets out of this
They
world.
give him his freedom.
And the Russians, and that's what he makes clear. The mob boss is like, he's like, the bodies he buried that day laid the foundation for what we are now.
Yeah.
Insinuating, if we didn't have John Wick to do this, we would not be the rich mob that we are.
Yeah.
And those first 20, 30 minutes is really... it's all set up to like, is this guy really that badass? And then that first scene, you're like, yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Like, there's no question.
It's awesome. When he's he's digging up the guns.
He buried all his guns, and he also buried his tokens. Like, anything relating to that world. His suit.
Yeah.
He's always, when he's killing, he's wearing a suit, which is funny to me, but they explain later why he's wearing a suit. Not in the first one, but in the later ones, why he wears these suits. And everything is buried beneath a concrete slab, and this is when you realize, like, shit's about to go down. He is unearthing this concrete slab with a pickaxe, basically.
Yeah.
And is just, like, going to
hammer.
Yeah, like, he is unearthing this, and he's bringing back his old world because...
Yeah.
Someone stole his car and killed his dog.
Yeah.
Again, it all comes back to...
Cute dog and a badass car.
It's such a simple story. Was there a fly? What's going on?
Yeah, there was a...
It's such a simple story that you just buy into it. Like, it almost makes you wonder, like, why certain movies...
And like you said, it's... If you were ever put in that state of mind of losing a loved one, and this loved one has, given you
this puppy.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like a dog.
And like she wrote him the note explaining why he was getting the dog.
Basically saying, I do not want you
to be alone.
I do not want you to be alone in these grieving times.
Yeah.
And the puppy was so cute, and he was already so like apparently
it was a girl.
Yeah, that's right. So apparently John is just good with dogs, because they show that in the second one. Like he can just look at a dog and say like sit, and the dog will just sit. But the dog was like clearly perfect for John.
Yeah.
And when they kill that dog, oh man. So I don't know, man. So you're saying just pivoting. Your favorite action sequence is the red circle.
It has to be. And that one, the house, when he finally kills the son. I mean, when he goes and he's sniping them all.
It's so crazy. He is so like multi-talented in the ways of an assassin.
Yeah,
which is what makes.
And then he's got the hand-to-hand combat at the end, and the drive the cars where they're.
Yes.
I mean,
and
there's so much is happening.
And you know what? We've discussed how this is one of the most entertaining action films. Like this really was you said it earlier. Mm-hmm. It was a breath of fresh air. When you watch this movie, it was like, I just haven't seen anything like this, and everything is so well choreographed, and that's what it is. These action scenes and these fight scenes are so planned out. You can tell they're meticulously planned out and well made, and it was just a breath of fresh air. And you think that there's some action movies that are spending $150 million, $200 million, crazy budgets. This movie was made for between, what was it? 20 and 30 million?
Yeah.
Like, it was clearly just a bunch of stuntmen that were like, we're going to make our own movie. And Keanu's been known to be like the nicest guy ever.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me if he, like, apparently this, the director, the first one was co-directed by Chris Leach and... Oh, I do not know how to pronounce his name. Or is it Chris Stilisky? It's Stilisky and Leach. Leach has gone on to do like Hobbs and Shaw and Atomic Blonde, but Stilisky has stayed. Stilisky has only directed John Wick 1, 2, and 3. But they're former stuntmen. And I think Stilisky was a stuntman in The Matrix. So I think that's where that relationship with Keanu came. And I could see Keanu going, oh yeah, like I'm on board. Because Keanu has been on record loving guns. He loves like kung fu stuff, and I think he looked at this like, this will be fun.
Yeah.
And so he probably took it for like a somewhat menial budget, or a menial salary.
And I don't think any of them saw the success coming.
I don't think so either. I think
this one. I mean, the first one, obviously, it leaves it open to like, yeah, there could be more, but there's a definitive ending.
Yeah, they could have easily just ended it.
Yeah.
But it was so good and so well received, it was like, no, we got to make another one. And that was...
And people were so, like, it is, the introduction of the world, they could have done... There's so much that can be done.
The Continental Hotel is so... Because there's all these rules, and there's all these things, how the payment of certain things, and it's just really just fascinating.
Yeah.
And...
What would you give this?
Ooh, the first one?
Yeah.
Of the series, I know we're supposed to do it just on a general scale. Of the series, this is the best story. Because you really can, like, relate to it. Yeah. You know, like, it's this, like, if I was in that position, I would try and do the same. I'd get executed immediately, but I would try to do the same. I, like, it, especially for the time, I would probably give it, like... an A-, probably. Like, it was...
That's exactly what I did.
The other factor, what it was, it just caught me by such surprise. Like, I went into it thinking it would be a good action. I was like, apparently it's supposed to be a good action movie. And I watched it, and I was like, this was a great action movie. Mm-hmm. And it was not what I was expecting, and it was just good. And for a movie that is pretty violent and kind of a little dark, it is extremely rewatchable. Because those action scenes are... You're just captivated the whole time.
Yeah.
Whenever they're on TV.
What's amazing, and again, we've touched on it, and we'll touch on it in the next one. These action sequences continue to get better as the movies go on.
Because they get bigger and bigger budgets, and they can just spend more time in every... We'll get into it. My God, we'll get into it. But, yeah, so you would give it an A-?
I'd give it an A-. I agree with you. This one probably has the most connecting story. Like, you feel more invested and connected.
This is something else, too. We have to, like, these stories, they've been on record when they made the first one. They were like, "Yeah, we left. It would always was kind of planned as a franchise, but if it didn't turn out, it didn't turn out. It was just like we wanted to make this. But of course, it evolved, which is why it's fascinating that they really in the later movies keep diving into this world. Insinuates that like the guy who wrote this must have had like this world already planned out, and he's done it. They've done it so well as to just slowly creep into it instead of just like introducing it all and becoming so overwhelming. Yeah. But also the dialogue is not like great. Like
acting's good.
The acting's solid for what the movie is.
Yeah.
The dialogue is okay, you know, but it's kind of the dialogue you would want in a movie like this.
I mean, it's a movie about a League of Assassins.
Yeah, like and this is. I'll say this: these movies, I think, it's a kind of a bold statement. I think it's going to start almost like a renaissance of action movies in America, much like how kung fu movies became a big thing over in the East, and that was kind of like what they became known for, because there was like those kung fu movies, and Jackie Chan kind of came along. Then there were John Woo like gung fu movies. Mm-hmm. And I think the way these movies keep going, I think it is going to start. I hope filmmakers look at these and think that is what we need to live up to. Yeah. This is what we need to be focused on doing these action scenes like.
I fully agree.
I hope that's the case. I hope they don't get lazy and are like, oh, John Wick can just do that. It's like, I want them to, if not match these scenes, at least try and better them. Like and it's gonna be tough, but I would like to see that happen.
Yeah. All right.
So that was John Wick 1. We're doing all three. We're doing all three, and you can catch us next time talking about the second one.
Yeah.
So we'll see you.
See you.